topic of accountability is something that I have found really interesting for the last few years, especially as I have worked with people who are trying to get over people-pleasing behaviors. Because it doesn't make people very happy when you hold them accountable for things that they don't want to be held accountable for. And so if you identify as being really easygoing, really, chill, you're going to have some trouble with accountability. You'll hold yourself accountable, usually, but you're going to have a really hard time with holding other people accountable because it goes against that label, that vision of who you think that you are, that concept that you've created of being very go with the flow. There's nothing wrong with holding other people accountable, especially if you have a very strong sense of self-accountability. It should just be a bar that you've set in your relationships. And I was actually talking to my husband about how holding people accountable is a really important part of setting boundaries. And he was like, oh, it just sounds like parenting adults. And I was like, unfortunately, if you've had an imbalanced relationship with another adult, or with kids, but it's more annoying whenever it's an adult, holding that person accountable feels like so much work. But if you think about it, to that other person in this relationship dynamic that they have with you, there's been such little accountability for so long that they're very confused when you start setting boundaries and you don't actually hold them accountable. They don't take you seriously. And it's not from this sense of like purposefully disrespecting you. It's more just, well, so-and-so says that that's what matters to them, or so-and-so says that that's a boundary, but they don't really do anything about it. They don't ever bring it up whenever I do something that might be crossing their boundary. So why would I change? People change when they're held accountable. People change whenever it feels kind of uncomfortable because either they call themselves out, if they have that strong sense of self-accountability, or when someone that they care about and they value having that relationship with you, you call them out, and then they have to take a look in the mirror and say, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm not doing that thing that I agreed that I was going to do in order to help balance out this relationship with you. And their inability to follow through with your needs, expectations, accountability, boundaries, it's not a reflection of what level of respect or reciprocation that you deserve. It is actually a reflection of what they're capable of doing. And so when you can disconnect their actions and their behaviors and ultimately the results of the relationship, disconnect that from your worth as a person, then you really become you totally blossom into this next level of person in your relationships, because you know that you don't need to ultimately control and make it all work, because the outcome does not define you. And that is where I see so many of my clients, when they finally break that wall and they disconnect that belief, everything changes.